Hey guys, what's up? Today we are talking about how Dustin Johnson shallows out the golf club. 3 things which you can work on to help you shallow out the club exactly like he does. In the previous video we talked about how Dustin Johnson rotates, and we've taken a good in-depth look at his golf swing. Those videos are on my channel, so feel free to check those out as well. But today we are specifically talking about how Dustin shallows out the golf club. Dustin's one of the best drivers of the golf ball in the world. We saw this when he won the Masters a few weeks ago, and he drove the ball incredibly well, and shallowing out the golf club is very, very essential to being able to drive the ball well, drive it consistently, but also strike your irons and wedges consistently as well. So let's take a look at these 3 things. So obviously Dustin has a bit of an unusual backswing and gets into a slightly unusual position at the top of his swing, but we've talked about those things, so we're going to specifically be talking about how he shallows out the golf club. So there's 3 very important things to understand about how Dustin shallows out the golf club, which literally every single one of you can do, can work on, and can help improve your golf, shallow out the club a little bit more, get more consistent strike, more distance, and play better golf. So obviously we know Dustin gets himself into a bit of an unusual top of the backswing position. He likes to kind of, get that club very laid off, high hands, and super bowed wrist, super closed club face here. So on the way down, there's 3 things we're going to talk about. The first thing is how this right arm moves in the downswing. Dustin gets a huge amount of external shoulder rotation in his downswing. That means that this elbow is going to start moving more in towards the ball basically, whilst keeping this club kind of deeper and more behind him. So it's kind of this motion. He's getting there and there. So it's there, 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 there. So he's getting more into internal shoulder rotation there, and then dropping it to external rotation on the way down. Now this is important because most people, and myself included, have done this wrong for so many years. Most amateurs do this the opposite way round. We get internal and then we pull down this way and get steep on the ball. This can cause us to come over the top, to have very steep impact, to get loads and loads of spin on the ball, hit a very high ball flight or a very low ball flight depending how you're releasing it. And yeah, it's not good for consistent golf, consistent strike, and consistent distance control. So how are we going to fix this? So it's basically, I like to think about it like throwing a ball. So obviously when you're throwing, you want a big wide base, you want this right elbow, or whichever elbow you're throwing with, very high, and then as you start to throw, it's the elbow that moves first in here to get that whip to then throw it with the hand. So it's similar in the golf swing. So we're getting here into Dustin Johnson's position, and then we're going here, so it's that throwing motion there, and then delivering into impact. Now the second thing we're going to talk about links into this very well, because it's also to do with the right arm, and it's also something that I would say 95% of people are doing wrong, and myself included in this. I've done this wrong for a long time, and it's something that has such a big impact. So obviously we've just talked about how we want that kind of elbow and that shoulder to move, that right elbow, right shoulder. But the other thing that's very important, and if we look at Dustin's swing, he does this so well, is he keeps a lot of width with his right arm on the way down. Even though he's externally rotating it, he doesn't get narrow. Now what I mean by this, I'll explain it very simply. If I could take it to the top of the backswing and I pull down, if I have my right arm very bent, my right elbow very bent, very flexed, that's going to mean the club is coming down quite close to my body and coming down very narrow. The club head is coming down on a narrower arc into the golf ball, meaning it's basically coming in steep, and it's going to be very, very hard to then shallow it out. So how are we going to fix this? Well, basically, if I take it to the top again, but this time I try and push away with this right elbow, right arm, keep it really straight, you're going to see that my hands are going to come down on a wider arc, meaning the club head is also going to come down on a wider arc, and that means as we get into impact, it's going to be coming through a lot shallower. So these two things, getting more external shoulder rotation and getting the club, the right arm a bit straighter, creating width on the downswing, are going to shallow out the club, or definitely going to help shallow it out. And combined with the last thing, the last third thing we're going to talk about, these three things are going to get you super shallow coming into the ball. So the other thing we're going to talk about, if we get back to Dustin's classic kind of position there, and the thing Dustin likes to feel as he starts to swing down is he likes to feel the club head's very relaxed, and he likes to feel it drop. He likes to, most of us get into this position and we like to swing down with our arms. We like to pull down hard here into the golf ball and really swing at the golf ball to hit it. This is not what Dustin does. He likes to feel the club head's very relaxed, like it drops down. And you might think, well, it would get stuck under the plane, but we've just talked in another video about how Dustin Johnson rotates. So imagine he got to the top of his backswing here and he didn't rotate and he dropped the club down. It would be super in behind him, and you know, it'd be very difficult to hit the ball from this position. He'd be hitting huge high draws. But he gets into that position, drops the club down and starts to rotate here, and now that club is perfectly on plane to come into the golf ball there. So these three things are hugely important to, first of all, get that external shoulder rotation as we come in there, to secondly, keep the width with that right arm, not get too narrow, not keep it too bent on the downswing, to feel that we still have that width, and thirdly, to let the club drop from the way down. Feel it relax, feel it almost dropping in behind you here, dropping down there as you start to rotate, like we talked about in the previous video, and the club coming through perfectly on plane there. So guys, let me know what you think of these three things. They're three things that Dustin does just unquestionably. Butch Harmon has talked about them, and Butch was Dustin's coach for most of his career. And you know, there's something that has helped him literally reach the #1 ranked player in the world, win the Masters, and it was a pretty impressive win at that. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course I will see you guys in the next video. Grip it and rip it, guys.